into Priced Out the Podcast. I'm Andrew Morgan, going to be your host solo today. Cornelius swore to be back with us in weeks to come, but today we're going to have a little bit of fun. It's not going to be a usual show. We're going to break things down and look at what happens during the Q&A sessions after we screen Priced Out the documentary. Today's show is going to have an emphasis on the screening we had at Enhancement Inc. It's like a local community center. It's a community hub. That's the way I would want to describe it here in Portland. And there was a lot of individuals who were on the panel as well as in the audience who were natives of Portland and who had been displaced or had watched displacement happen. So everyone in the room was very familiar with gentrification. So today what I want to do is just play some of the questions and answers that I heard that really caught my eye. So let's go ahead and get into the introduction and some of the first few questions, and I'll join you here in a second to give you my thoughts on a few things. And once again, I'm Andrew Morgan, and you're listening to Priced Out the Podcast.
I'm first going to allow our panelists to introduce themselves so you know who's sitting in front of you. And then after they do that, I'm going to ask two questions just to get the energy started and the discussion started. And then we'll have a mic that will go around for anyone that has questions or comments that they would like to also interject. Okay? That feel good for everyone? Great.
Again, Tony Hobson, President and CEO here at Enhancement Inc.
I'm Michelle Lewis, resident of Portland, and I'm a mental health therapist professionally, mom, wife, friend, community member.
I'm Cornelius Swart, the producer-director of Priced Out.
Rachel Hall, born and raised in Portland, a resident to this community.
This question is for Mr. Hobson. Now that we have shown this film in this facility and your history here, what does this film mean for you?
So when I look at this film, there's a certain part of me that becomes angry because I remember what it looked like and some of the comments made by some of the folks that are on this panel about what it felt like in the community and to have a sense of community. I grew up in that, but I don't stay there. Because I also try to be optimistic and realize that what has happened. So now what do we do next? So I spend more of my time when I look at the film now thinking about, okay, so how do we, one, make sure that this doesn't continue or happen again? And how do we make something positive out of what is obviously a very negative thing for African Americans and other poor people who lived in this particular community? And that's why I spend so much energy through SEI and some of the other community-based programs here, looking at ways in which we can change the present condition in this community for African Americans and with the right to return and things of that nature. The energy to keep going back and dealing with what was, I mean, it's energy that is not well spent, in my opinion. It is what it is. So now how do we figure out how to make it better going forward? But the film does, I'd be lying if I said that it does not bring some level of anger, some level of pain when I look at and remember how it was to be in a community surrounded by people who look like me. And even the comments about the gangs and the negativity, that wasn't everybody. That wasn't everywhere. There was a portion of that going on, but there was a lot of positive things that happened when I could see black folks who actually own businesses and I can go and spend my money there. And it was a very positive thing. So don't think for a minute that some of the negativity that Nikki talked about, which was real, it didn't dominate the entire Albina community.
Ms. Michelle, same question. What does the movie mean for you?
It's a healing point for me. As you can see in the movie, it was a very emotional thing. And really for a while, I didn't talk about how I lost my home. And so I realized as a healer, as a mental health therapist, and I predominantly work with people who are a reflection of me, where I'm hearing about it consistently when I'm working with them, I realized that in order to help people who look like me, I had to begin the process myself. As Mr. Hobson said, it does bring up still a lot of emotional pain for me, a lot of anger. And so through this process, it's just a starting point for me. The more I talk about it and the more I face it, the better that I will become. I haven't let it stop me, I don't hang on to it, but still on a daily basis, it's not uncommon for people, at least if I have 4 or 5 clients in a day, at least 3 are talking about what's going on in the community and how do they deal with it in a way that improves their mental health versus keep them stagnant. And so I need to be able to support them, and I can't do that if I'm not doing the work myself. So the movie means a lot to me. It means healing, but it also creates a space for me to help folks who look like me.
All right, you're back in with me. And once again, what we're doing today is we're reviewing some of the footage or some of the audio files from when we went to SEI, which is like the Center for Self-Enhancement here in Portland. And it's a really great academic place that just stands for excellence. And it's a pillar in the Portland or Northeast Portland community for African Americans. And so having the screening there seemed like it was a very significant thing. And you could tell the mood in the room. There was a lot of raw energy and emotions. And so when we know that people are still kind of just churning after watching Priced Out, the documentary, they get to this place where they're saying, okay, I want to say some things, but can I take it there? They want to know that they're in a safe place. So often Cornelius or myself or someone who's there on the panel will ask the audience a question that will allow them to feel comfortable to go ahead and come out with those raw emotions. And so the next series of clips, that's exactly what Cornelius did. He went ahead and provoked the audience to thought and challenged them with a really good question. And we came up with some really good answers that I want to share with you now.
Well, I can ask a question. I'll ask a question of the panel. Often when I come to these screenings and talk with folks or they ask questions, the most common one is, what can I do to be part of the solution or going forward? And so I would ask that question of each of the panelists. What do you think that new residents coming into the community can do, or folks who have been here for a long time? Yeah.
So I would say to that, what can be done is, first of all, learning a little bit about the history of the neighborhood, the county. That's key, right? We want to know where things started from to be able to know where to be able to get in to build. And after learning that history, attending things like this, being a part of the community, acknowledging that you're not the only dominant culture, noticing that you are the dominant culture, but being accepting of other cultures, right? It's not just what you can gain, if you will, but having that mindset of unity. I think that that's really key, and it's really important, because how can two walk in together unless they agree, right? Not having the same mindset, but having the same goals in mind of being unified. I think that's really important.
Just to piggyback off of what she said, I think being open to have a conversation and also to be able to sit with your uncomfortableness around this. I think, I'm going to just keep it 100. The white fragility, okay? Understand that you're going to come in contact with people who are grieving seriously. And grief manifests itself in very, very different ways. And so if you're willing to be open to have a conversation and hear some uncomfortable things from folks who look like me, deal with that. Don't look for us to take care of your guilt. And it happens. I have, when I've done these type of panels, usually people come and they want to pull you to the side in secret and say, I'm really sorry that this has happened. Don't apologize. We need you to interrupt behavior like this so that people who look like me aren't pegged and put in a position as the angry black man or the angry black woman. I can't speak for all my folks, but I'm not looking for anybody to fix anything for me. I'm perfectly capable of doing that. But if you ask me a question, be prepared for the answer. And it may not be pretty, and it doesn't always have to mean I have to lash out or use some colorful language. But sit with the uncomfortableness, because imagine we've had to sit with the uncomfortableness with this for many, many years. So you're dealing with individuals who are, like I say, just really trying to come into a space of healing around it. And respect also that if we don't want to discuss it, because that's another thing too, because people will approach you wanting you to take care of them. And we may say, we're not in the mood for that. It doesn't mean it's forever, but today, we just may not be ready for it.
I don't think we can solve problems until we look at the root causes. And clearly, white supremacy and white privilege are one of the basic causes. And folks here talked about that. But there's another basic cause, and that's an economic system. Whether you call it capitalism, whether you call it the market economy, whatever. And those two feed on each other. And unless we understand that we can't solve these problems, I'm preaching, right? But I'm just telling you my life story. Unless we solve both those problems together, we can't solve either one of those problems. White folks got to understand that the privileges they get from white supremacy ain't worth the cost. If you think this society that we're living in is what you want, that's what white supremacy gives you. If you have a dream of a different kind of life, of a different kind of society, and if you're tired of paying for prisons and wars and police, then understand that we white folks don't benefit from this. We pay costs too, and not the same costs as folks of color, not as much a cost for sure, but the cost for all of us isn't worth what we get. And unless we address that issue of white supremacy and an economic system that puts greed and money ahead of human needs, then I don't see how we can solve these problems.
Hello. I am a person who moved from Cleveland, Ohio to Portland, Oregon. And I wanted to live in a black neighborhood. And so my daughter found a place for me. And I knew that when I got here, I had to find myself a way to connect. And the first place I went was Matt Dishman. And I knew that I would find some black folks over there. The next place I went was to church. And, okay, I'm a fitness nut, I should put that in there. I went to church. And the churches I went to were in my neighborhood, but I was used to my church. And in Cleveland, I had a black church in the Disciples of Christ Christian Church. So I went there. And when I came to Portland, I found myself in the middle of a totally white church. It was Christian. It was Disciples of Christ. And I took a deep breath, and I said, I am going to be the diversity of this church. And another thing that really occurs to me is these conversations are important. And I'm willing to bring my voice and to be passionate about it, to let everybody know, hi Katie, I've gone to the Boise Neighborhood Association, not as many times as I'd like, but that's what we, as people who look like you and me, we have to do this. It's important that we bring ourselves to gatherings like this and speak. You don't just sit there and say, oh, you say this, and I'm not going to say anything, but I know you folks here, the blacks here in Portland have a story to tell, and tell it. I would encourage you to tell it.
I was just to piggyback on that, I worked at SEI for 19 years, and I remember when I first started in 99, I was going to the Boise Neighborhood Association meetings, and gentrification was just really getting started. And I remember like the people that were first moving in were saying, well, I'm moving here for the diversity. I just love the diversity in the community. I just think it's great. So everything is diverse. And I was like, okay. But as you saw as you saw the years go by, what I came to understand about what they meant was diversity was cool as long as I was another version of you. So it was like, I want to live around people of color. You want to live around people of color that are like you, right? So what I came to understand is my individuality as a black woman wasn't really appreciated. You didn't really want me. You just wanted a version of me that looked like you. And so when you see Nikki that just said that I really wanted this, but then at the end of the day, I lost my home. I lost everything because I don't see myself reflected. And that's not what was promised when this whole thing began. It was like, we're going to have you, you'll be reflected, you'll get to do this, and what I have is a whole street that I don't even recognize. I don't understand. So when we say we grieve that, it's like, yeah, there was Blight on Mississippi, but it was home. We used to play all around here. Yeah, the store may have been dirty, we called it Dirty Leonard, but we went down there and got candy, and we always knew, right, what was going on. And so just understand that diversity isn't diversity if I have to lose who I am.
All right, welcome back into Priced Out, the podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Morgan, and what we're doing right now is we're reviewing some of the clips from our screening at the Center for Self-Enhancement here in Portland, Oregon. And like I said, the audience, as you could tell, had some raw emotions about things after they watched the screening. And so one of the things that we were always aware of is how can we, as panelists, as individuals who work on Priced Out, the documentary, how can we make the audience more comfortable? How can we help them process out their feelings and their emotions about things and give them a safe space to begin some of these important conversations. One of the conversations that I find that frequently comes up at a screening, it really, I believe, is stimulated from the film when there's a scene where Nikki's walking down the street and she says she feels like Moses because it seems like the sea parts and people are looking at her odd, and so that always brings up a raw emotion for a lot of people of color, especially who live in a gentrified area where they are now just like they feel like they're like a double minority almost. So we often get comments and questions about this, and so what's happened is we often have found different responses to it. We found different ways that explain it. And Cornelius kind of goes into one of those points there. And we also have a few people that respond, and I want to get those clips in as well. So let's go ahead and listen to this last few series of clips, and I'll be right back with you. And once again, I'm Andrew Morgan, and you're listening to Priced Out, the podcast.
Just an observation and try to tie some things together. What I've seen over the years is, and coming from New Jersey, Portland gets so white sometimes. There's almost like there's a belief there because everyone's acting like the same. There's so much like unconscious consensus going on that it's like if someone's different than you in mannerism or approach, they must be wrong. So everyone here is the whiteness here is. For me, coming from New Jersey, it's very quiet. Everybody sits on their hands. They wait until someone stops talking before they talk. And they do all this crap that I would never do in New Jersey. And one thing is I fucking swear all the time. I came out here and within 5 years I had completely stopped swearing. And I felt guilty if I swear now. And the idea that someone might talk to me and like touch me or like be confrontational or look directly at me when they're, that's threatening now, right? Mm-hmm. And if someone's loud, that's because they're rude or they're mad and they're dangerous, right? And so like the ability for me to engage with people, it has diminished, right? I see some nodding heads, right? And so this is what happens when things get too much the same, I was in Austria last year, and I was just talking about it was really diverse in Vienna. It's incredibly diverse. I came from some other places, and it was far more diverse in Vienna than any place I'd been to. And I was like, it's really diverse here. And they're like, yeah, we like diversity. We know that if the group gets too homogenous, things go really bad. And obviously, you know what they're talking about. So again, so that's been my observation is like, as you go around in the neighborhood, don't assume just because someone's acting differently, than you, that they're wrong or dangerous or rude or, don't reflect, basic human values or something. Just because it's a bubble. It becomes a bubble world in here. And just the last thing that, one thing that people talk about both in the film, but when I talk about gentrification around the country, Nashville, just yesterday, people talk about white people move into a black neighborhood and they don't treat other people respectfully. So what does that look like? One people often say they don't look at me in the eye, or they don't say hi to me. And I've said in the past, well, when I moved here from New Jersey, I don't say hi to anybody. I'm from New Jersey. There's 8 million people here, and they're all dangerous as far as I'm concerned. But that's like a different big city mentality. It's not necessarily. Sometimes people think it's racism, and it may be, but other times it can be just you're coming from a bigger city and you're just not friendly. That's not the way you do business. And then a woman in Nashville, who's a black woman, young woman, she says, as a millennial, I just feel uncomfortable talking to people I don't know. I'll text them, but I don't like having face-to-face interaction. This is a woman, she's black, she's from Nashville. She's like, I just don't like to do it. And so there's all these different reasons why this could be happening. But the point is that in this neighborhood at least, and in some others, the expectation is that you say hi. The expectation is that you look at people in the eye. And to me, that's part of what you were saying is learn about the community you move into.
Right.
Find out what the history is, find out what the norms are, and then have a little courage, embrace your discomfort, and say hello.
I have kind of a question and a statement reflecting on your first question of what we can do next. In the film, there was a statement that said, I didn't create it, and it's not my burden to fix it. And that really resonated with me from a person, as a black woman. I agree that, to some extent, that it wasn't, I didn't create it, but it's not my responsibility to always fix it. But I do think as citizens, as people, all of us, we have a responsibility to act. And I think that the first step, of course, I agree, is going and learning about history, doing racism and equity trainings. And I think right now in Portland, it's very trendy to say equity, but we don't actually know what that means. Yeah. We don't actually want to do the work necessary for that. So I would say I would encourage everyone who's interested in this work to not stop at listening and feeling and tears, but actually go to the next step and be advocates. And actually be accomplices as well. There's so many black organizations and organizations of color doing work that are going to affect all of our lives, and we need allies to come to the table and support us, either monetarily or with your time, your effort. And I think it's not enough just to be in our feelings. We have to actually move forward. And I'm not saying this only to the people of color. I do think white people as well. We need you to come and step up and to help us and to support us and to make sure that this is not happening again, because it's happening. This is a film that is definitely historical, but it's also something that resonates very often with people are feeling right now. This is a cycle, and we can stop it if we want to, but we have to want to. Sorry, Brand. But
I think there's something real about flipping the script. I mean, one of the things about being in a place like one that's so white is that, when you think about white privilege, I'm always amazed when I ride around the Portland metro area and outside, all of the wonderful neighborhoods for white people. And I'm struck by that. I'm always bothered by it. It's kind of like, man, if I want to live somewhere in the Portland metro area and see myself, I don't have no options. And white folks can just take that for granted. You can just live anywhere and be surrounded by other people that look like you. So I would say one of the things that I would think would be good for any white person is to try to force yourself into a situation where you're the minority for a while. And just live in that for a while and just see how you feel. See what it does to you. See how you think. See as you begin to look around and your level of comfortability or lack thereof. I mean, I think it will say a lot to you. As an African-American culturally specific agency, I would tell you, and actually I was just having this conversation with one of my staff here recently, being white and coming to work at SEI for a white person is different. Because we got like 130 or 40 full-time staff, but 120 or 30 of them are black. And we're not hiding black culture. We're a black agency. So if you white and you come to SEI, we're not going to be white. We're going to still be black, and it's still going to be our culture. Certainly we're going to try to be business-like and all of those things before a white person stepping into an organization where you're surrounded by a culture that's not necessarily yours is different. So I would encourage you, when you have the opportunity to go to a black church, go to something black where you walk in the room and there's nobody looking like you, and see what that feels like. And then you can begin to then relate to what black folks and Latino folks do on a daily basis and have to become used to it.
One time after one of these panel discussions, I had disclosed, I had, how much rent I was paying, and it stuck with me for quite a few weeks. But someone told me at the end in secret, if you can afford to pay over $2,000 for you to pay rent, then you should be able to afford your house. That's privilege. And the person didn't look at me. And I did, shame on you if that's your thinking process. Because trust me, the thousands of dollars I've spent moving over a 5-year period, moving my family, nothing can replace that. So I'm just putting that out there that, words are very powerful. They give life, but they also take life. And our community has lost a lot. So, I just say be willing to sit with uncomfortableness if you're going to, get feedback from us around this very sensitive issue.
All right, unfortunately, my time is up with you today, but trust me, I have enjoyed my time with you on Priced Out the podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed it as we went through all of the different audio clips from Priced Out, the documentary screening at SEI, the Center for Enhancement, or Center for Self-Enhancement, I should say, here in Portland. The audience was knowledgeable. They were enthusiastic. It was a really good screening. And so, to be honest with you, I wasn't able to share all of the great clips with you. I just gave you a handful for time's sake. I didn't want to keep you here all day. But the best thing to do so that you don't miss any interesting, thought-provoking conversations is to just attend a screening yourself and get involved with the Q&A. One of the best ways to do that is to find out the information that you can about our screenings on our website at www.pricedOutmovie.com. That's www.pricedOutmovie.com. And when you do that, you'll be able to link in and find a lot of other information. We have a blog that we keep you updated on all the different things that are going on with Priced Out the documentary and all the different things that our team is doing, as well as you can find ways that you can help the movie out. People you could tweet the movie to and just let them know that this movie is here, and Priced Out the documentary is one that can change your perspective and change your life when it comes to gentrification. I truly, honestly believe that this movie gives a voice to those who are disenfranchised and those who are currently hurt right now. And that's what gentrification does. It hurts people. And so we're trying to help heal with this movie. And this documentary is one that is needed. And if you know it's needed in your community, please go to the website, make sure you reach out to us and say, hey, we need a screening at this school, or we need a screening at this community center. Can you help us out? And I'm pretty sure Cornelius will get with you and be able to help you out to the best of our ability. And so once again, if you want more information on Priced Out the documentary, you can find us at www.pricedOutmovie.com. All right. Once again, I'm Andrew Morgan, reminding you that Cornelius swore to be back with us next week, and I promise you we'll have fun. I say next week, next show. As soon as we got something for you, we're going to definitely give it to you here on Priced Out the podcast. I love you guys for listening. Thank you for listening. And remember, you have a voice and you can fight gentrification. We do not have to lose this war. We need you to battle with your voice, your resources, and everything that you have. And we promise here at Priced Out that we'll continue to fight the good fight. All right. Love you guys for listening, and see you next time on Priced Out the podcast.